Good morning. Don Palayo checking in this morning, Sunday. Today is the 28th of September, 2025. My daughter just had her birthday yesterday, her 21st birthday, so she's growing up pretty fast. I haven't been good about putting out videos this week. It's been hectic at work lately. I've been kind of grinding, and I go home and I'm ready to just kind of collapse, and I go to just fall asleep. But we've been pretty busy. But I did want to kind of catch up with you guys because we got a lot going on. Been a lot going on the last week since my last video. It just seems like every week things are getting a little dicier. It's like, saw in the news this week that Russia went into NATO airspace in Estonia, with some of their military jets with armed fighters. NATO's not going to take that. So Russia better just cool its jets. This whole thing with Russia doesn't make any sense to me in the first place. What I don't really understand with Russia has a vast territory. They have a ton of land. They don't need more land. It's like they don't need more territory. Russia needs to develop the territory that they have, And it's like they've lost a million of their young men fighting this war with Ukraine. For what? For what? And it's just, it just doesn't make any sense. When I sit back and look at it logically, it doesn't make any sense what they're doing. It's like, you don't need more territory. You're already like one of the largest, if not the largest country on the planet, land-wise. You don't need to take more land. You need to develop what you got, and who's going to do it if all your young men are dead, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me anyway. So that's one of the things that I'm keeping on the radar a little bit with what Russia's doing over there. Second is Trump is going to be sending some National Guard or troops over to Portland, Oregon, which that's going to be interesting, won't it? That'll be quite interesting. Portland is one of the hubs for liberals in the United States, so we're going to see how that goes. It sounds like maybe Antifa and some of these groups have been going after harassing the ICE agents out there in that part of the country. Well, Antifa is going to get a rude awakening if they keep it up. I think Trump is very serious about cracking down on these people. It's like, you can disagree with the policies, but when you start going after, law enforcement, and ICE is basically a branch of law enforcement, it's not good. So Trump's doing what the people elected him to do. One of the biggest reasons why Trump was reelected was to fix the immigration issue, and that's what he's trying to do. And so when these leftists push back against that, they're pushing back against the will of the majority of the American people. So they're going to learn. They'll get a rude awakening with this. We're just not playing with these people anymore. I think that leftists have felt like for a while that they were just going to take over. I think one of the things that's really disappointing the left right now is that for a lot of years, they thought the boomer generation was going to die out and that all the young people would be on their side. And it's turning out that that's not really the case, and including a lot of minorities. I have noticed that there are more African-American men, not so much the women, but the men, coming over to the Republican side. We have seen more Latinos, Jewish people coming over to the Republican side. And a lot of it is the social thing. And this is where the Democrats, I think, really hurt themselves. If the Democrats would stick with their economic message, with their economics, because the economic side of the stuff of their platform, I don't completely agree with most of it, but it's rational. I can kind of rational, but I can understand their point of view. As a Republican, I can understand their point of view. The social stuff on the left, all this LGBTQ stuff, all of the pro-abortion, kill all the babies, all that. It's just, most of us here on the right don't even understand it. We don't. It's like, it's so far out there from what we grew up with. When I was coming along as a young person, I never even heard of, I may have heard of it. I remember people in my, when I was growing up as a kid, in middle school and high school, that people throwing around the F word to describe, LGBTQ people. And it was a slur, it was a slur. But that was the only thing that I ever heard about that until about 2008. 2008, they had the Prop 8 issue in California. And you begin to hear more about it, that men were wanting to marry men and women were wanting to marry women. And that was really weird. I remember, it's like, I guess in Republican conservative views, the whole point of marriage is to form a union to raise children. And it's like, you need a man and a woman to have children, And so the whole idea is pretty illogical to us, and it's just out there. And I think a lot of the Latinos especially are more traditional in terms of the family and all of that. And so that's where the Democrats are really losing a lot of people. Is just, most people just don't go that way, I know there's some people, young people, that are more open to it, but people in my generation, Gen X, and it's like, no. So I don't know. Anyway, things aren't going for the left the way they had expected them to. I think they really believe that younger people would be more on their side than they have been. And a lot of men, especially young men, are finding their way to the right. We've had some important male voices which have encouraged that. Charlie Kirk was one of them. I think Andrew Tate, like him or hate him, I think his voice has been loud and has been a masculine theme, which has made more guys go to the right. There's a few others out there too. I think Trump, like him or hate him, there's not too many people that are neutral on Trump. It's like people either like Trump or they hate Trump. I like Trump for the most part. There are times when he has policies or does things that I'm not real wild about. I've talked about that before. It's like when he goes on these, when he first got reelected here in 2020, the end of 2024 and going into his presidency here in 2025, he starts talking about Canada and Greenland and all that. That was not what I wanted him to be focused on as a Trump voter. It's like, I want him to fix things here in the United States. That's what Republicans really want. We want a leader who's going to fix things here at home and not be so focused on things internationally. We want to fix things here at home. We have a lot of problems right here in the United States, and focusing on Eastern Europe and Greenland and the Panama Canal. It's like, that's just not what most of us want to hear about. You know, we want to fix things here at home. So I'm hoping Trump's got that message. I haven't heard much about Canada and Greenland in a while. By the way, Trump was not the first one to come up with that idea. There had been many periods in U.S. history where there was hope that Canada would join the United States. It was never going to be a thing where the United States went and militarily took Canada or Greenland. But we were kind of hoping that, that they would want to join us, join the United States. And they're not. They're happy. They're doing their own things, and that's fine. That's fine. To be honest with you, as a Republican, as a conservative, I would hate it if we had Canada join our country, because that would be, most of them lean left, and that would be a bunch more Democrats here in the United States, and that's about the last thing we need, in my view. So I'm kind of glad they're not joining us. Anyway, got a lot of things really starting to heat up out here. I'm a little concerned because it just seems like every week there's another violent event happening, or some, it feels like kind of a prelude, like we're waiting for something to pop off, and I don't know if our young people here in the United States are ready and willing to fight a war, a major war. We've had generations before. You had World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and then, Desert Storm and all of that later. And you had a good supply of young people that willingly joined the military and wanted to be part of the military. I know you've got some of this younger generation that's that way, but I don't get the same, sense of a strong military support from our young people. I think they're more like national defense, defending. But if a big major war were to pop off, if our allies are attacked, and are we going to be willing to join in that? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to get this video uploaded and go over to my parents' house. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I will try to get a couple more videos out this week. I'm trying to eventually. I'd like to do a video every day, but it doesn't happen. So I'll put out content as frequent as I can, but it is what it is. All right, so this is Don Pelayo checking out. You guys have a great day.